Javed Rana, welcome to the program. Javed Rana is joining us from the Pakistani capital. Javed, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Javed, now tell me about the latest developments from Gaza. Yesterday, we saw Israel bombing another hospital. The Al-Ahli hospital was bombed. Not a lot of people were killed. Not a lot of people were injured because they were evacuated only 20 minutes before the attack. Now, tell me, what is the situation right now in the occupied Gaza Strip?
I think this attack happened in the northern part of the Gaza, and that was a last hospital which was standing to provide some kind of basic facilities to the injured and wounded people who are being killed every next day in occupied Gaza territory. I think in a broader picture, the last medical supplies to the Gaza, it occurred back on March 2nd, and the last 8 trucks, I think that also it was March 2nd when they were allowed to get into Gaza. Now, I think this is a familiar method by the apartheid state. It's a method in the madness. They basically, what the defense secretary probably it was, he was defense secretary during Biden's administration. He said that if Israel does not eliminate Hamas, it would face a strategic defeat. Now, that is the problem. The reason Israel has been violating the ceasefire is quite simple, because it is facing a strategic defeat. It doesn't matter in a broader picture for Israel how many people they kill in Gaza, but if Hamas survives, they would lose this war. And that is at the heart of this industrial scale of the genocide that is being conducted in Gaza right now. So in that context, we have to see that so far as the northern part of Gaza is concerned, that is obviously is going to be occupied by the apartheid state. They have told time and again, and they are going to basically build up there some kind of settlements. And that has been part and parcel of their strategy. That has been part and parcel of their so-called long-term policy to expand Israel. Now, the point is, bigger picture is that why this dehumanization in Gaza has been normalized. That is a quite bigger question. Why Europe is not looking at it? Let's forget about Americans, because now it is a extremist evangelical regime is in place in White House, and they are giving a talking point of what Netanyahu has been saying. So, and then basically Donald Trump is making fun of about the tragedy that has been happening in Gaza. So we should not expect anything from the White House under Donald Trump's administration. The bigger question is, why are Arab countries, why Muslim countries are silent? It is a literally dehumanization. It's a normal. If 17 people are killed, 37 people are killed. 37 people were killed, by the way, yesterday. It is simply normal. Killing Palestinian is a normal activity, as people go for a fun, as people go for a dinner, as people go for a lunch. That is it. People are least concerned. Haven't we asked question to ourselves? Haven't we been desensitized? The Muslim countries are just like a doctor in a hospital who sees dead bodies every day. And there is no impact of his normal life when he returns home, because he's desensitized. So we all have been desensitized to such a bigger scale of tragedy that is occurring in Gaza. 6 brothers were killed yesterday. Well, it is nothing new. Before that, there were dozens of families who lost their all members of the families from one generation to third generation. So the conclusions that we can conveniently draw is simple, that killing Palestinian is a normal activity. We don't have any problem with it. We are putting up with it. This is a new normal, because virtually the Muslim countries are sinking with the narrative of the Israel, which is that the Palestinians are subhuman beings, they are animals. And I think they have been treated less than animals, because animals have their rights in the West. They are less than instincts. Nobody cares about things. It is going to have an impact in the long run, let me tell you, because this is an extraordinary situation we are passing through. Israel wants Hamas to listen to them, to surrender, to move away from Gaza, and then it will occupy entire Gaza comfortably because there would be no resistance. That is a part of the plan. And since Hamas is not listening to anyone, and generally they should not listen to anyone, because how can they listen to an occupying force, allowing it to occupy their territory? This is their inherent right. Now, the bigger problem is how many OIC summit level conferences have been convened? How many OICs, foreign ministers level conferences have been convened? Every country is pursuing its national interest. They are not bothered about it. Muslim Ummah was eliminated in 1924. And these Arab rulers, monarchs who were imposed on the Muslim Ummah, they are there to keep the Muslim divided. They are there to basically comply with the agenda of Israel and the West. That is a very sorry state of affair. That is a bigger, dark reality that we are passing through.
Javed, now countries like Italy, Germany, United States, and the US, they've been responsible for providing Israel the bulk of the ammunitions through which it has conducted its genocide of Palestinians in the occupied Gaza Strip. Tell me about the Arab countries. Now, since you've said that Muslim countries have remained silent, they haven't done a lot, tell me the situation that is being faced by countries like Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, because they were the ones who normalized ties before the war began. So what sort of actions or what sort of statements are these countries making?
Well, it is a religious war for the West, more particularly for the Americans, because they have said it. And I think it's an evangelical agenda they've been pursuing. That is why, by and large, most of the European countries, they've been providing weapons, because that would help them to fulfill their evangelical agenda, which involves the so-called return of their false Messiah, and they're facilitating it. So, and then the West, more particularly, specifically the USA, they have imposed their agenda onto these Arab monarchs, and they would not do anything. I mean, in continuation of what I earlier on said, now on one hand, the entire West, by and large, with exceptions of few, they are providing all kind of weaponry support, intelligence support, even manpowers. Even some of the intelligence guys are there in the apartheid state to help Israel to finish off a Palestinian. Now, at least I think, apart from Iran, no Muslim country provided weapons to people, to Hamas fighters in Gaza, and then other jihadi groups. Why other Muslim countries are not providing the similar help to their brothers in Palestine? That is a bigger question. Because West is very, in a naked fashion, they are telling to the Muslim every next day that we are pursuing our ideological agenda. Secularism is just a facade to fool you, and they are trying to promote all secular values, secular system of governance in the Muslim countries. And behind the scene, not even behind the scene now, on the front now, they are providing weapons, they are providing intelligence, all kind of support, diplomatic support to the apartheid state, to eliminate the entire population of Palestinians in occupied Gaza, and they have already started the same thing, replica of genocide in the occupied West Bank, because they want to eliminate from their perspective all kind of hostilities from the neighborhood of East Jerusalem, where they believe their false Messiah would arrive. And they would build up the third temple. I mean, the U.S. Defense, the current U.S. Defense Secretary, before becoming Defense Secretary, he's been saying it. He's been very, vocal advocate of building up a third temple. This is a religious war. So I think the Muslim countries need to wake up. Where is the Muslim Ummah? They are on the streets of the Muslim countries, in the Arab countries. There is a greater amount of suppression by the Arab North on the Arab states. They do not generally allow these protests. Saudi Arab, most recently, they disallowed a Turkish woman who was on an Umrah visit. She was not allowed to wear a pro-Palestinian hijab. I mean, what does it mean? It's a handkerchief she was wearing, and she was disallowed. And I think in a similar fashion, the protests in the Arab countries are not allowed. In countries like Pakistan, people are protesting, but whenever the government get a chance, they crack down these protesters. Some of them were even killed. Universities were given warning that they would not, any students who would be protesting against Israel, he would be arrested, he will go missing. Enforcement disappearances in Pakistan is a very common culture. Thousands of people remain missing. So again, this is there is a kind of a situation where I think there is a kind of a pent-up anger among the people. And I think this is going to burst. It is a matter of time. In what form? I think the biggest casualties I expect are going to be these Arab Monarchs. It is a simply matter of time when that spark happens. Now the second part of your question, which is extremely important, about the countries like Bahrain, UAE, who normalized ties with the apartheid state. And then they were telling to the Muslim world that basically they are creating stakes, they are creating a kind of a so-called vested interest whereby they can influence Israel, and they are paving the path of a two-state solution. As a matter of fact, now let's have a very brief comparison. On one hand, there are Americans warships standing in the Persian Gulf, in the Arabian Sea, and in Mediterranean Sea, in the event of any bigger conflict with Iran. This military help is there as a plan B by the Americans. On the other hand, and then there is a continuous supplies of weapons to the Israel. On the other hand, what Arab countries have been doing, like UAE, they've been providing all kind of help to the apartheid state. The Hamas, one of the Hamas leaders said that the UAE, they were spying for Israel. And they were basically trying to locate the missile launching pads from where Hamas has been carrying out rocket attacks inside the apartheid state, in different cities of the apartheid state. So it means this UAE turned out to be simply an espionage network of Israel. And in a similar fashion, a couple of years ago, there are credible reports in the media suggesting that the UAE used different Arab businessmen. They were trying to buy properties in the East Jerusalem from the Palestinians, and then selling it to the Jews. The reason being is because UAE is helping to fulfill the so-called prophecies of these Zionists about the arrival of the false Messiah, because they want to remove all these kind of these Palestinians from nearby neighborhood of East Jerusalem, particularly from the Baitul Muqaddas. So this is one part of the crime. And then when Houthis were basically bombing the Red Sea, all these Western ships, trading ships, including the Israeli trading ships, Israel was having very tough time, and still I think they unfrequently attack the Red Sea. What Saudi Arabia was doing, Saudi Arabia basically, it was providing a route to Israel and diverting trade from Red Sea to Saudi Arabia, from there to Jordan, and from Jordan to the occupied West Bank, and from there to the main so-called apartheid Israel. So this is their role. So on these trade supplies of Israel is being facilitated by the Arab Monarchs. So they are the biggest problem. Even the UAE foreign minister told his Israeli counterpart that they must eliminate Hamas, because Hamas, as a matter of fact, is being perceived in a larger ruling elite within the Arab countries as a biggest threat, because they believe that Hamas represents Muslim Brotherhood. They have their branches across the Arab countries, and if there is a bigger uprising, the Muslim Brotherhood would take over these countries. That is a fear. It's a pure power politics. The tragedy of the Palestinians, genocide of the Palestinian does not matter. very bitter fact of the matter is that there is more sympathy for common people in the West for the Palestinian cause than those of these monarchs and Arab countries. The common population, the people, they are deeply concerned, they are deeply worried, they are weeping, they are crying, but they are helpless because their government have been hijacked and have been compromised.
Political analyst Javed Rana, thank you for your analysis. It was a pleasure to have you on the program today.
The growing tide of anti-Israel sentiments. What you see behind me is just tip of the iceberg of what is happening in the country. More than half of $52 billion black CIA budget is spent on espionage network in Pakistan. How would you handle it?
The US has looked upon Pakistan as an ally at one point and then as an enemy at the same time.
That is going to be the first legal reason on the basis of which he is going to be instantly ousted by the Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Joining us live, Javed Rana, who's an expert on politics and geostrategic issues.
In the world politics, which is not being driven by any moral principle, it is being driven by the hard geostrategic realities. In a broader picture, more countries would aspire to have nuclear weapons.